What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi and Sheets. We're going to be talking through this NFL two-game slate. We'll talk about some showdown as well. I am playing both showdowns today. Ready to. These are the ones that you remember last year. This is when I was cleaning up before the million. Even this was these two gamers, these four gamers, the weekend games and the playoffs. Those are sort of where I live. So I'm excited about today. Sheets. I know that and again, I think this we could go back to the conversation we had on Thursday about the weather, and you see how little it actually affected things.
Yep.
There's a 7 million points scored. Maybe you could argue that it cost an interception or near interception on here or there, but overall, the weather in the second.
We have to talk about this because I haven't spoken to you since then. So you weren't there for the live sweat.
Like if you go back, I was in pain.
Well, if you go back and watch, so like basically that was like the focal point of what I was talking about. Like, not really so much the showdown slate because like everybody was dead, whatever. But I was really giving play-by-play in the game, and when Darnold gave up that pick six, like I was like anointing like the Rams, like the number one seed. Like this is like a great performance. They're putting Seattle down, and the whole game. And then I'm like, so they're actually minus 1,000 to win now. The Rams, whatever. And even when the Seattle like scored the touchdown when they were down 16 and they made it to 8. I bet you they're still plus 600. You think it's even money, but it's really plus 600. It's plus 600. And the funny thing is it's kind of a cool way to watch the game. So I was watching it obviously with no sound on. And like when like all those like replays, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to happen. And then like when they missed the 2-point conversion, I'm like, okay. Then like I'm sitting there, I'm like, why is nothing updating? Like what's going on here? And then like I cut back and I'm looking at like the replay and I'm like, wait a minute. Right? It's like they're actually gonna. Oh my god! So it was it was a pretty. Listen, it was a rough result, obviously for the Rams. But to me, I mean, honestly, what it showed was that the Rams is like clearly the best team. You know what I mean? That's the way I looked at it. I don't even know how they lost. Now that I think
this is every Rams loss. And by the way, the least of this, just to show you, all of the Rams losses have been like that this year. Like
I mean, they outgained them by like 300 yards.
They everything I felt, and to credit to Seattle's defense in the second half. But like that was exactly that way. It was playing out exactly like I thought it would. Where I thought the Rams could basically do what they want, would find a way to do what they want. Stafford's been that good, and I thought that their defense could make Darnold go nuts, which looked like it was happening. And by the way, even that run back getting tackled inside the one was painful because I had so much Rams defense. It may not have mattered as much because they would have had like 16 points or whatever, which would have been something. But the part that was really tilting, the lineup I cashed the deepest with, I think I was like 30th in the big one in the 333. But I literally had what's his name as the captain, the guy for the Rams at 0.2% ownership. Why can't I not think of his name right now? The one who caught the second touchdown.
Ferguson?
Yeah, Ferguson. And I had him everywhere. And by the way, Stafford's two worst throws were to Ferguson that would have been an extra each 40 yards, wide open. He just missed them. So I was really pumped up from a DFS. I was up, and also like until like the last 6 minutes, I think I was up like 30 or 40,000, and then it just it goes away. That happens, but it was a little frustrating.
So here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
Heading into today, what are the odds or the chances that we get the Jacobs news before the Eagles game starts?
Almost none.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and I think that's accurate. The thing with this slate, if you try to hand build, you'll see it. There is literally, I'm even surprised SaberSim is leaving as little money on the table as possible because you could easily just basically play everybody you want to. So
well, to that point, like I built lineups this morning. I mean, I built them with Jacobs in for now, right? Just to see. And my lineups like are averaging like 4,000 left on the table.
Interesting, because I can't figure out why mine are not doing that.
Mine are, and well, you know what? Because what I did, I actually used my own ownership projections to make the fields. Sure. So I ended up with very, very little Philly, except for Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're fading like all the great skill players from Philly who are going to be 65% owned, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like aside from Barkley, I mean, I ended up with like all kinds of like Chicago, you know, and that's why all my lineups are like 4,000 left on the table. But we'll see what happens because I mean, obviously everything is different. But what's good about the way I built at least is that if we don't get the news, whatever, I really don't care. You know what I mean? Like I have so many opportunities to screw around in the late game, that I could do that. And I think that that's at the end of the day, what you're going to end up is people playing Barkley and Jacobs, and then if Jacobs is ruled out, then they're just going to give up the 4,000 and play Emmanuel Wilson. You know,
absolutely correct.
You know. Because one of them, because they're probably going to play one of those other Chicago, but then again, they're probably going to play one of the other Chicago running backs.
Yeah, both of them, I think.
Yeah, both of them as well.
Will be played pretty, I think pretty often. Let's see. I'm just taking a look. Yeah, I've got the combined 65% of the running backs. But like one thing that's interesting that you can get different on this slate, like right away, and this is. Look, we talk about this. Obviously, you can't do the have a little bit of everybody thing with defense. But what I would encourage people to do is to be overweight all of the defenses not named the Eagles, which will be 60% owned. And I really think you should force that in. They don't have to be the highest scoring one on this slate. I'm not saying you should X them out or anything like that. But if I cap them at their expected ownership, I'm going to get plenty of. And by the way, why is nobody playing the Packers? Like, I mean, I know that they've been better, but Chicago, I don't even care if you play them against and stack Chicago. I think that's totally fine too. But like, you have Caleb Williams, who both can take sacks because he can hold on to the ball, and we know he can make mistakes, although he's been so much better this season. Well, I mean, the touchdown interception numbers from last year shouldn't even count because he wasn't risking anything. Anyway, that's my thought. Is I do think that playing more Commanders, Packers, and even Bears, but mostly Commanders and Packers, that's one way to get different on this slate.
My initial builds got me 50% Commanders.
Love it.
And I actually had to boost the Eagles to get them even into the board. You know,
interesting.
And I had 5,000 left on the table, so the money didn't matter. You know, so.
Right.
So what I did is I'm actually like screwing around with like programming this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Give me equal amounts of Washington and Philly, but swap the Philly ones that have Barkley in them. You know what I mean? This way, I at least had a little correlation with the Eagles and Barkley defense. You know, but I was getting very little Packers defense, and that was concerning to me. And I guess one of the things I would say is that one of the problems I have with playing the Packers defense is the same reason I have probably. I'm really scared of like playing too much Caleb Williams in the passing game for Chicago. Is that Chicago has been just freaking pounding the rock the last like couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine they do anything different unless they have to.
Especially with the wind and all that stuff. The problem is I can't like why don't we think they'll have to when the Packers have been like the 5th best team in the NFL against the run? Maybe that's a way we could get different is load up more on the passing game from the Chicago, like,
and that's what I have right now, you know,
and be underweight maybe some of those running backs.
Yeah, so I mean that's what you end up doing if you play like Barkley. Barkley's going to be more than 100% owned if that's possible. I mean, like you just that's the free square, honestly.
And I guess you could, but if we want to, you know, maybe we should talk a little showdown from that first game. Well,
sure.
We can because.
So let's definitely talk about that because here's what I want to ask you. Again, this is kind of a leading question or whatever. But when's the last time you had a 2-game slate where one of the team's running backs, none of them are more than 10% owned? Okay, and that's Washington. Okay,
yeah.
I know that there's like a timeshare and a split and all three, whatever. But still, if someone's going to score a touchdown for Washington, it's pretty likely to be a running back. I don't know who it's going to be. You know what I mean? So how can none of them get ownership? If someone's got to get something, right? It's only 4. There are only 4 teams, you know? Right. So I would probably certainly in showdown, but maybe even classic, like take some shots with these Washington guys that no one's playing.
Totally agree. The thing is, we should assume that Chris Rodriguez gets all the work. Would it be totally shocking if this were like, you know what, let's actually let Krosky Merico, or maybe
it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and by the way, if they're down, Jeremy McNichols will get all the work.
Yep.
So there is a path for each of these guys. So I think in the showdown, you'd like to be overweight each of those guys in the flex, because even in the flex, they're not being owned very much.
Right.
Because you really don't need to play them. And all of my builds, if you just leave everything be, I'm getting so much Philadelphia. I like that your idea about the Washington running backs quite a bit. And I also think that I like in terms of these the slate. I like playing both these defenses a little bit on the showdown side of things. Are you getting to the defense as much? Because they're really getting like I'm just looking at spots that don't get ownership. And for some reason, SaberSim is giving me. I have 10% Treylon Burks captains, which is wild. But
yeah, I have some Treylon Burks, but not as much as you do.
Yeah, it's a little wild that it's giving me this much without doing much. But yeah, I mean, Barkley, I think makes the most sense as the most logical captain along with Hurts. Obviously, Devontae and AJ Brown project so well. So who do we play from the other side? Mariota is the only one who's going to get a bunch of ownership, but why wouldn't we be overweight? I mean, I already said the running backs, but that was more of a flex conversation for captain. I think we should be overweight Debo and McLaurin. I personally slightly prefer McLaurin, but it's really close. And I also think that we should be, have some exposure to the running backs there. When no one's going to play these guys, like you said, because of the timeshare and the projections are going to not love them. I think you force it in, and you force in a little Rodriguez, you force in some McNichols, even captains. I really think there's a path for that to work out. And then you could play, and the cheap guys, you've got, Treylon Burks, who else? Ben Sinnott are guys that you could gamble with. But I like the idea of trying to get to more Washington than SaberSim is currently giving me.
So there's all kinds of rumors through my many different semi-believable Twitter accounts that Jacobs is going to get ruled out. It's nobody like 100% reliable, but like a lot of different semi-reliables. One just says, my source with the Packers confirms he'll be ruled out. He has a significant limp walking around the facility. And though he's pushing to play and Green Bay will take it right up to pregame warmups, he will ultimately be ruled out. Now, that could be just some dude, angling for something, whatever. But
yeah,
I will say this, that, gun to my head, I think he does not play. So maybe I will try to build somehow without him. And see if it makes a difference. You know what I mean? Like,
here's my fear.
Yeah.
Okay. My fear, and I think it's a realistic one for this big of a game. I mean, we should mention this is probably, this is obviously the biggest game of the year for both teams. They basically are playing to decide. This is the mini version of the Rams and Seahawks.
What if he plays? You're saying, and he's only 40%? I mean,
well, no. What if he plays and they use him as like a decoy because they want him to have the
right. What if he gets a limited workload or something?
Yeah, he gets like 4 carries in the first quarter, and you really barely see him afterwards.
Right.
Or he's or he's just a decoy out there. And the Packers, but by the way, the Packers have a number of guys questionable. And based on the line, like personally, I understand the the Parsons injury and everything. I'm actually surprised the Packers are underdogs based on the way how we know Vegas feels about the Packers. Yeah. I'm going the other way. I think the Packers win that game today.
Well, it's a pick'em game. I mean, like
it's not like Chicago's at 1.5.
Right. Well, that's pick'em.
That's pick'em. Yeah, I know. But I think it's. I just don't. I was surprised. I thought if anything, it'd be 1.5.
Oh, dude, freaking brutal. My friend who I told you about, who really loved Seattle. He ended up playing Seattle, but gave 1.5. Like brutal.
Oh my God! Did you see? But like Vegas got crushed.
Yeah, they got middled.
They both got there. Yeah,
they got middled. Yep, they sure did.
Oh, that game, Sheets. I just thought it was. I couldn't believe they could find a way to lose it. Like I really couldn't.
You know what? They get more football now, more Rams games.
The problem is,
well, I'll tell you something else, which is really sick when you think about this. San Francisco controls its own destiny for the 1 seed.
It's so out of this world crazy to me.
But it is what it is. I mean, the math is what it is, And you know what? If they win these games against the teams they have to beat, then they earned it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's fair. But
I mean, it still goes back to that ridiculous game that they won on the road. At the Rams earlier this season.
Yeah, on that weird Thursday night, it was. It was a rough call for the Rams. Right after flying to Philly and then having the.
Forget that. Well, but there's no issue. But the 49ers had like no players.
No. I'm just saying that the back-to-back crazy Rams losses were just tough to understand. Anyway.
Now this college football game is a freaking ridiculous, stupid game.
Which one's playing right now?
It's like 3-3 in the fourth.
Who is it?
Miami, Texas A&M. It's literally 3-3 with 3 minutes to go.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
You know, in college football, like no, you never get games like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, even and another thing is like, you know, we're looking at these, just going back to the two gamer or even, you know, showdown, just to talk a little bit about, because you know, we've got what's his name in chat, AFC, saying that about how Love seems to show out in these situations. I don't disagree. It's really hard. Like, that's, again, these are ways you can get an edge, is to take an overweight commitment. Well, we would like to know who's playing, because you know, we have Watson, even Swift is questionable, but we have Christian Watson questionable. That's a big piece, obviously. But I really think that, like, trying to be overweight these receivers, my favorites, you know, Jaden Reed and Watson will probably be the most popular, assuming Watson plays. But I think getting to some Musgrave as a tight end, and I think to getting to Golden, assuming that he plays, just trying to take a shot with these lower owned Packer receivers. We've seen these guys step up at different times, and yeah, it's harder when they're healthier to get run on the field. But we saw Dontavian Wicks as the fourth receiver on Thanksgiving. He was the one who won all you needed to have to win any money. And I'm not saying him necessarily. I like Golden the best as the sleeper.
Gotta be somebody who's the one with the hat. Who wears the hat? The Dobbs, right?
Yeah. Dobbs is probably the most logical. Like, he gets a lot of the intermediate stuff too, and Watson gets more of the big plays. I think Dobbs, actually, the game suits him the best. But I was saying to get different guy would, like, because I think Dobbs will have ownership, but I don't think that you're going to get much ownership on. Let me just see, actually, what I have to take a quick look. Where is Dobbs projected here?
Only thing
no, he's not. I like that, actually, quite a bit.
The Dobbs?
Yeah, I think that's too low of ownership.
Oh, Watson and Dobbs. I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, like.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll take a shot.
What about the other guy from the Packers? What about Chris Brooks?
So,
like, if Jacobs doesn't play, obviously.
If Jacobs doesn't play, yeah, I mean, I would get some pieces of that.
Okay.
But on the two gamer, like, you really don't need to. It doesn't, like, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm even thinking more like showdown too, but like.
Yeah. Look, showdown, we understand, we all see how touchdown variance works. I think that anybody makes enough sense to take some shots with, but yeah, I like the I like that idea. I mean, look, getting overweight both the Packers and Washington, I think is a straightforward, logical way to play this slate. I think to treat Jaden Reed and Watson worse than Golden and Dobbs, or not worse, but like, yeah, I might have more exposure of those guys, but they're going to be popular. Give me the guys who they're not going to be played, the Dobbs, the Golden, maybe even Dontavian Wicks, depending on who dresses, obviously. But it really, we know that the wide receiver distribution there is wild, but there is upside for each of these guys. Wow, 3-3 college football game in the playoff thing. That's weird.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to rebuild here. Let me just see what that says. Other things, tight end is going to be basically all Loveland and Goddard. I think it's not a bad idea to be overweight Musgrove and Kmet. Again, like, I'm not going to take stands and just not play.
What about the guy you mentioned from Washington, the
Sanat?
Either Sanat or Bates, one of those two.
Sanat might be a little bit thin for the two gamer, but or I mean, same with Bates. I guess they're kind of the same play. But it's not the worst idea. I don't hate that idea. I prefer the Musgrove and Kmet, and they're low enough owned where I would just gamble there personally.
This is my advice to you, AFC. So I would not worry about using too few or too many receivers. Although I wouldn't use. I know you're going to find this sounds silly, but I wouldn't use QB +5. Like,
yeah.
And you're like, well, how would I've done stupid shit before. I would if I thought the lineup was awesome, I would play QB +4 with the cheapos if it got you to Barkley and whoever, you know what I mean? Which you can, obviously. So I would play QB +4s, but I wouldn't play QB +5s. But I wouldn't like require like anything, you know. But if you let's say you Saber Sim and you got QB +5, QBs +6, I just don't think those can win. You know what I mean? That's just too hard. But QB +4s, I would definitely play.
Yeah, I just want to also remind everybody that one of the biggest mistakes people make is how much they think correlation is there as receivers on DraftKings.
Right.
You can have, like, I mean, we just saw it last week as a great example. Trevor Lawrence won the million thing with none of his receivers. Yep. and the 2 receivers from Jameson Williams and Antoine and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And at that price on a full slate, I would say you need to sync your quarterback with your receivers. But you can see the guy won all the money without doing it. So that's another way to go. I mean, look, if you really just are going to have money left on the table if you do any of these things, though. Like if you play Jalen Hurts with Barkley and what's his name and Goddard and just said, okay, I'm not going to be using Devontae and AJ Brown. That's totally reasonable, and that's an interesting build that I bet you SaberSim's going to give some people. But I don't think it's going to be like all that common. I think that's another way to go, and that's what you want to do on these slates is to try and find the little things that I think you can to get different. You have your Bears thing and your Washington defense, and sometimes it can be just a couple decisions that make all the money.
And it's great. You sit there. It's like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. It's the game time. I'll just sit here and root for like a game that's going like this college football game right now.
Yeah.
A big old 3-3. Barkley will get, maybe 15 fantasy points, which is going to be enough to win the slate, but nobody else get anything. It's like,
right.
And then Washington defense, and then I'll sit there. Okay, they'll have the luxury of doing. Then I can late swap all I want in the late game, because I'll have like 11 guys in every lineup from that game, pretty much.
Right.
So that is definitely one way to play. Or I'll tell you the other way to play is to go full on Commanders offense, and just play all the Commander stuff, including 1 or 2 of the running backs, and play that way. Philadelphia has not impressed me at all, offensively or defensively, quite honestly, like the whole season. So, listen, it's no bargain to play, what's his name? Marcus Mariota, I will say that, but they are at home in a real FU spot, you know what I mean, to stick it to Philly. And this is a division game, and
they did knock him out of the playoffs last year.
Exactly. I mean, this is legit, man. You know what I mean? Like this is a dangerous spot for Philly here. I mean, in a lot of ways.
But you're gonna get like another going back to showdown. I like Jalen Lane, by the I think there's a chance for a trick play, and also you get the punt return upside equity if you want to correlate him with the Washington defense for showdown. I don't think I'm going to play him on the big one.
No,
but
I'm not sure.
Jalen Lane and Dennis and Devin Duvernay are like those are the weird plays that maybe could get you there. It's harder on the 2-gamer, but certainly for showdown.
Does Duvernay still return kicks?
I believe he still does. Yeah.
So you can get the double dip. You play him with the defense, and then
something like that. It's sort of the same way with the other one with the Jalen Lane.
There you go.
Yeah. So those are just some little things. I do think it's interesting with the Bears because Caleb will spread it around a little bit, and it's all going to go towards DJ Moore and Zacchaeus and ownership. No one's going to play the Jade Walker or the Duvernay. So I think for showdown, it is kind of interesting, at least, if not maybe even beyond showdown. But both tight ends are the way I would be looking mostly. I think that Cole Kmet is a terrific pivot off of Loveland.
University of Miami just scored a touchdown, so they're up 10-3 on Texas A&M.
Well, I hope Miami wins.
You like Miami ever? Oh, the other thing, I'm not even going to get into this. Well, I was wondering what you thought of the whole Puka stuff, but you know what?
That was so ridiculous. That's why I was trying to find a reason to try to fade. I didn't do it. I played him in like every lineup.
Yeah, I was trying to find a reason to fade him too. Honestly.
I mean, it's pretty crazy that this guy, almost like, it's funny if they didn't have the draft combine, if we just watched the guys play when they were in college or whatever, and they didn't have these, running how fast they run the 40, Puka might have been like the number 1 overall pick. Like instead he's a 6th rounder because he runs a 4.6 40, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to.
I like it AFSC. I like the merit. The JCM, I like it a lot. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this is the guy that they want to get better, and he had he didn't have a great game last week. He had a good game last week. He was good enough. He's good enough to that if to keep him busy this week. That's for sure. I think.
Well, I mean, I really but he is the 3rd string running back now. Like he legitimately, we should.
You think so?
Well, I mean, based on history, yes. Is that going to be the way they continue today? I don't know. I don't even know that they've made the decision and the game hasn't even started yet. I really don't. And whoever, but I would feel a little bit weird if the lineup, if it went with Krosky Merritt was out there on the first possession instead of Rodriguez.
Right. Yep. Can you imagine if they ruled Josh Jacobs in, and then Emmanuel Wilson came out there for the first series? I mean, can you imagine what would happen to Twitter?
Oh my God, yeah, that's pretty funny. So
but they could come right out and say, I think that's what we're going to come out and say. Josh Jacobs will give it a go. He really wants to play, and he's active.
Are we crazy not to take some shots on Wilson anyway?
Well, it doesn't matter because you could take them later. I mean,
no, okay, but still, okay. Then for later, let's just say that
so even if Jacobs is playing to play Wilson, yeah, I'm down.
I would love to do it. Usually, the problem is the discount is usually what you're playing it for, and we don't get any. We don't need any discount.
Well, I mean, maybe you could get up to.
You can get up to everything.
There's nobody to get up to.
You can get up to everything so easily, Sheets.
Yeah,
it's crazy when you click down. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. So I mean, in order to get different, I mean, the first thing I was going to talk about when we came on was I was really strongly considering not having a lineup above 49.6.
If 49.6, I mean, I'd love to have one that high.
No, but I'm looking at my builds, and I mean, I'm getting different than you. I've got everything over 49K pretty much. Not there's some in the 48s.
Well, and then the funny thing is, it has nothing to do. And sometimes I think it has something to do with my projections that I'm using. But on FanDuel, I'm basically maxing out salary across the board somehow. I don't even know how.
Pricing is a little bit different over there. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not playing over there, but I did notice that when I looked at the sheet earlier.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that and I hear what AFC is saying. I just want look. We can speculate on the Krosky Merritt, but I just want to treat it like it's truly speculation because we've seen him get no more than 7 carries in the other spots. Yeah. I think he had 10 actually in one game where the game Rodriguez got hurt, but Rodriguez got more than 3 times as much time on the field and basically 2.5 times as much work. Anyway. But this is why and by the way, maybe you're right. Maybe nobody's going to end up that high, but I am confused at why I'm getting so much of my lineup filled out for me or so much of my salary filled out for me. I ran into this issue on the other night Sheets where I ended up with 4 guys from Orlando on the basketball slate. And by the way, of course, last night, Buzelis on a 4-game slate at less than 1% ownership goes completely nuts. My Buzelis play the other day, he had literally 9 fantasy points the other day, and last night he had like 45. But on the I forgot, I lost my train of thought now about the 2-gamer. What else is there today? We're getting the injury, the first game injury reports coming pretty soon, so at least let us know what I thought you were going to ask me some crazy guys or something, but you didn't do that for the showdown.
No, nothing. I got no. I mean, you talked about not Jahan Dotson, that other dude for the Bears.
Yeah,
but
I would take some shots there.
Yeah.
The worst thing about the stat, by the way, all the other receivers who were looking great for Stafford, because Mumfield got there in a way. Xavier Smith had 2 big plays, which had 8 fantasy points, which usually for a guy like 1K is great on a showdown slate. But the problem was there was so much scoring, it didn't matter almost, I don't even remember what won the big one in football on Thursday. I did have a good slate last night in the NBA for the first time in a little bit. Yeah, profitable. I'll take it right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just barely cashed my 88 lineup.
Yeah, I think I got last in that.
I'm so mad at myself not for going back to the Buzelis thing. It was such a great way to.
Oh, he did well last night.
He had 9 the other night when I was talking about how much I liked him as a nothing play, and then he had 40 something last night. Just one of those. I knew it was going to come. The troll game. I should have been ready for it. And Sunday we've got big games. Monday night is Sunday night's a great game in New England. And
Monday is kind of a weird game. I mean,
it's an interesting game. I will personally tell you right now, I'm 90% sure I'll just bet outright on the Colts.
Oh, look at that.
I do not think much of these 49ers. This is not their best team. And by the way, which means, in my opinion, they have like the third or fourth best coach in all of football, and he deserves all the credit in the world for getting them where they are right now, because this team has no business being as good as they've been. All right. Jalen Johnson. By the way, Jalen Johnson was great last night. They just were down by 40 points. He was the only guy on their team who could do anything. If he would play his normal minutes, he would end up with like 60. All right. Wilson a lock tonight. What Wilson? Is that a Emmanuel Wilson? We don't even have the news on Josh Jacobs, so there's no way to answer that one yet. But by the way, I don't think that he's even a lock, even if Jacobs is out. It's just you literally can do whatever you want salary wise. So you're looking at raw points on these slates, but you also want to take the shots on some of these lower owned, higher upside plays. I think I prefer Monangai to Swift tonight.
I think they're just the same.
Well, I just like the style of running. I think that you talk about whatever, the guy who's going to give me the goal line carries, the guy who's going to be pounding, and I just think I have enough respect for the Packers defense not to give up the giant play. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's where I'm at.
So it's 3rd and goal for A&M.
How much time is left?
28 seconds. It's 10-3. And this is what happens. Then they go to overtime and the over cashes, like in quintuple overtime.
No, oh yeah, that's right. Because college.
Yeah, that's how it rolls.
Yeah.
Someone play the under. It's 3-0, 3-3 with 2 minutes to go in the game, and the over cashes. So.
Yeah, exactly. Hurts is the most logical play to answer that question, but I don't think I think I'll probably I definitely will end up underweight him on the 2-game slate. I'm sorry, on the 2-game slate, and in Showdown, it's really hard not to at least have him in the flex in almost all your lineups, in my opinion. It's just so hard for him not to score points. Every now and then, it happens. All right, what else do we have here? It doesn't look like there's much out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna lock in, or not lock in, but when I say lock in, I mean lock in at the 1 o'clock area. I think people are gonna play. They'll play Jacobs and they'll play Barkley and then Jacobs and one of the running back and one of the running backs for Chicago. And then if Jacobs is out, they'll play the other running back from Chicago, I guess.
I think that's pretty likely as a normal build.
Yep.
It's really easy to do with anything you do. I mean, really, you could almost spend the most on all receivers too. It's really.
I don't think people are going to drop 5,000 to Wilson. Honestly, maybe he'll be low owned, but in those lineups, you're going to be leaving like 8,000 on the table, maybe or something like.
But I don't. Yeah, and I think it's very winnable.
Oh my God!
Whatever.
3rd and goal. The guy threw a freaking interception in the end zone.
Oh my God! How much time did you say was left?
Nothing. 24 seconds.
Oh, so they're done. That's it.
That's amazing. That's a perfect end to the game. It's just perfect.
So I think I'll answer this question by saying I think it's the wrong question in a way. How much of a downgrade does Green Bay defense get as a whole without Parsons? The answer is not as much as the ownership and projections are telling you. That's my take. I don't buy that that all of a sudden this defense, is bad because Parsons is out. Yeah, it's a knockdown, sure. But I think the perception is too much. Sort of like the perception of the Rams in Seattle the other night. I think people thought it would be a sloggy kind of a game. And that obviously wasn't the case.
It was not the case. Dude, I'll tell you, man, Darnold is still always live for those freaking pick sixes like that.
They had him. They almost got like 2 more of them too, by the way.
I know.
Because their guy had there was one landman dropped. It was a little bit over his head, but he should have probably had it. And there was literally nobody who would have been able to stop him back there. But you know what was cool about that game is it really shows you how good these teams are, because you look at these plays in other games where it looks like the guy's got the edge and it's like, oh, that's going to be like a 35-yarder and he may go. And these teams freaking wrap you up right away. You know what I mean? They're always as somebody flocking to the ball. It really takes the Rams had a lot of big plays, but it wasn't they're not necessarily going over your head for a bomb. They just, I don't know, they keep everything in check, both the teams. It was a really good game. All right.
I got to get out of here.
Okay,
I will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yep.
All right. I will see you then.
Good luck, bud.
See you later.
All right, guys, I'm probably going to head out soon too. I'll be in the Discord. If anybody has any questions, I'll post my exposures, et cetera, et cetera. I'm still waiting.